A crow just dropped a walnut in front of a moving car. That looks like an accident. It isn't. The car rolls over it. The shell cracks. The crow hops in, grabs the meat, and walks away like nothing happened. But the real story is far stranger. Crows aren't just using cars as nutcrackers. They're running a plan with steps, timing, and a memory of what worked last time. And once you understand how, you'll never look at a parking lot the same way again. Start with the walnut. A crow can't crack one with its beak alone, so it needs a tool. Not a stick, not a rock, a 4,000-pound machine driven by a stranger. The crow picks a spot, usually near a crosswalk, where cars have to slow down. It places the nut, then it waits on a wire or a rooftop, watching. Why the crosswalk? Because a slow car is a safe car. A fast car might miss the nut entirely, or worse, hit the crow when it comes down to collect. Crows have figured out that patience pays. Researcher John Marsloff, who has spent decades studying crow cognition at the University of Washington, has documented exactly this kind of behavioral fine-tuning in urban crows. They don't just repeat an action, they adjust it based on outcome. That's the twist. This isn't instinct. Instinct doesn't check for traffic lights. Here's where it gets stranger. Crows remember faces, human faces. In one study, researchers wore a specific mask while trapping and banding wild crows. Weeks later, crows would scold and dive bomb anyone wearing that same mask, even a total stranger, even in a completely different location. The crows had never seen that person's face before. Just the mask, just the memory of what it meant. That memory doesn't fade fast, either. Some crows kept mobbing the threatening mask for years. Long after the original researchers had moved on, they taught other crows to do it too. Crows that were never trapped, never banded, never present for the original event, learned to treat that face as dangerous. Pause on that for a second. A crow can pass down a grudge to a bird that wasn't even born yet when the grudge started. So what's actually going on in that black-feathered head? Crows belong to the corvid family, along with ravens, magpies, and jays. Ounce for ounce, their brains punch far above their weight class. Not in size, in wiring. Corvid brains are packed with a much higher density of neurons in the forebrain than most birds, which is the region tied to problem solving and planning. That density is the real secret. It's not that crows have big brains, it's that their small brains are unusually crowded with the exact kind of tissue that plans ahead, remembers faces, and adjusts a strategy after a single failure. Now bring the walnut and the mask together. A crow that plans a nut-cracking setup around traffic patterns is doing the same basic thing as a crow that remembers a threatening face for years. Both require holding a mental model of the world. Both require using that model to predict what happens next. Biologist Nicola Clayton at the University of Cambridge has studied this kind of forward thinking in corvids for years, showing that some species will actually plan for a future need, hiding food not just for now, but for a version of themselves that will be hungry tomorrow. Most animals live entirely in the present. Corvids, it turns out, don't. Here's the counterintuitive part. We used to think tool use and complex memory required a primate-style brain. Big cortex, lots of folds, the whole primate blueprint. Crows blow that theory apart. They evolved their intelligence on a completely separate branch of the tree of life, with a brain structured nothing like ours. Convergent evolution built two different roads to the same destination, a mind that plans, remembers, and adapts. Which brings it back to your street. That crow on the wire outside your window isn't just waiting for scraps. It's watching. It's building a mental map of which cars slow down, which humans throw out bread, which cars have that person who once chased it off a fence. It is, in a very real sense, keeping notes on you. Ever notice how some crows seem to recognize your car? Or seem unusually calm around one neighbor and unusually jumpy around another? That's not random. That's a bird running years of accumulated data on the humans in its territory. Which is the part that should really sit with you. We tend to think of intelligence as something rare, something that needs to look a certain way. A crow proves otherwise. It doesn't need hands. It doesn't need a face like ours. It just needs a few thousand extra densely packed neurons and the patience to wait by a crosswalk. So the next time a crow drops something odd in front of your car, don't brush it off as a coincidence. That's not an accident. That's a plan 4 years in the making, running right in front of you.